Dear faculty colleagues, our CEO, Mr. Manish Jain, dear students, staff, members, and invitees. A very happy Republic Day to all. Today is a great day in our history. It is a day where the tradition, modernity, wisdom, and enlightenment finds a confluence in the form of a constitution. After liberation, you always need a new vision, because always this question is there. After liberation, what? What do we do after liberation? So 1947, India got liberated from the colonialism, and the question before the nation was, what do we do now? And I think it is in this context that the Constitution of India provided that new vision. Just like in the case of management, we always have a vision document which articulates the vision and the mission and the goals and the objectives and all that. Similarly, at the level of the nation, we need a vision document, and Constitution is that vision document. And Indian Constitution has a history behind it, and that history goes back to the ancient times. When we look back and look at the history of India, then we find that this part of the world at one point in time was known as Aryavrat and Bharat. The ancient India was known as Aryavrat and Bharat, as we know from the study of literature and our own experiences of history. Then, during the medieval times, it became known as Hind. This part of the world became known as Hind. And as we moved further, slowly we started using the phrase India, and today we use the word India to refer to this part of the world. The rest of the world is always using the phrase India. And in our constitution also we use the word Bharat, that is India. That is the opening sentence. So what we find is that if you combine all these four periods of history, then you get this phrase ABHI. A for Aryavrat, B for Bharat, H for Hind, and I for India. And ABHI becomes Abhi. Abhi means this very moment. So this very moment is containing the entire history over the centuries. And the flag of India is the culmination of that entire history. Constitution of India is the culmination of that entire history and that entire experience. And therefore, it is not just a document of modernity, but it is a document of tradition, modernity, wisdom, which we have gained over centuries, and enlightenment. Now that is the way we need to look at this whole idea of the Indian Constitution and also the Indian flag. Today I would like to share with you a model which I call the India model. Now what do I mean by this concept of the India model? Now if you look at this word India, then IN stands for Indian Nationalism. D stands for development, and IA stands for International Aspiration. Now, this is the new idea of India in terms of the 21st century idea of India. Indian nationalism, Republic Day and our Independence Day are the celebrations of the Indian nationalism. But then the question is, how do we define nationalism? Is there a definition of nationalism? What are the different perspectives of nationalism? So there are at least 4 overlapping perspectives of nationalism. First is the territorial perspective of nationalism. A nation is defined by territories, and that is why, we always get emotionally attached to those territories, and then the Jai Hind is required as a symbol of protection of those territories. So that is one idea of nationalism. Second is a constitutional view of nationalism. When we look at the constitutional view, it is the constitutional values which have to be inculcated, in addition to, of course, the values of discipline, which are very important, which many times is lacking in us, and we tend to be, late for the functions and all that. I think that is one thing which we must remove, that kind of a tendency. The discipline is very important, the time management is very important. That is part of the constitutional dimension of nationalism, according to me. And another important dimension in terms of the constitutional values is what we can call the Z, J-E-D. Z stands for justice, equality, and dignity. These are the 3 pillars. These are the 3 key ideas which are very important. So, as a citizen of the nation, you need to inculcate this spirit of the Z, wherein there is justice, there is equality, and there is dignity. And if that is to be achieved, then we need to have the rights and the duties. The rights and the duties, R&D, rights and the duties are very important. And therefore, in the Constitution, you will find that you are given certain rights. There is a freedom of expression, but that freedom of expression has to be exercised with the sense of responsibility. But if you don't have a sense of responsibility and you say, I only want to have freedom of expression, I think then you are not fulfilling your responsibility or duty. So therefore, Constitution is that kind of a vision, that kind of an articulation wherein you derive the values of justice, equality, and dignity through the sense of responsibility and duty. So that is the constitutional values way of looking at the idea of nationalism. Third approach to nationalism is the cultural approach to nationalism. The cultural dimension, the unity in diversity. So diversity has to be appreciated. And that is where it is the idea of the India Pura. The India Pura approach to nationalism means that everybody is coexisting together. We are united together to the spirit of a nation, and we are part of that deep culture of the nation, and we manifest that in our day-to-day behavior and day-to-day actions. So that is the third part of it. And there is a fourth approach to nationalism, and that is the energies model of nationalism. Now, what is that meaning of the energies model of nationalism? If you look at our flag, Indian flag, there are 3 colors in that: the green, white, and the saffron. The green represents the physical energy, white represents the mental energy or the intellectual energy, and saffron represents the spiritual energy. PMS, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And when these three energies converge together, then you can achieve whatever you want in your life. A nation can achieve whatever it wants, provided all these three energies find a convergence. If there is no convergence, then the energies will be dissipated. And then you know what will happen, even at a personal level or organizational level and even at the national level. So therefore, the three energies and the chakra there in the flag is a symbol of dynamism, moving forward. That is the symbol which is being represented in terms of the moving forward. So when we are talking of the cultural or the energy model of nationalism, is that how a nation is able to use the energies of its people and give a direction to the energies of its people. So that's the nation building approach to nationalism. The spirit of nationalism is in terms of nation building. So these are the four different ways of looking at the idea of nationalism. Sometimes, of course, there are, people differ in their perspectives, and that's what we many times find in the social discourse, that, okay, what is nationalism? And then people are taking different perspectives. But we need to integrate all those four perspectives and look at the idea of nationalism in an integral manner. So that is the IN part of the India model. Then comes the D part, the development part. Now the development part, again, if we take a historical perspective, after 1947, we have seen different models of development. We have gone through the experience of the socialistic model of development. Then in 1991, we had this another experience, and that is the LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization model of development, or the so-called capitalistic model of development. And now we have moved towards another new model of development given by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and that is the holistic vision of development, which is known as Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Take everybody along with you. Take everybody along with you and move forward. That is the idea of the holistic vision of development. And I think this is required not only by India. The whole world today needs this new model of development, because we have now got the experience of the other models of development, and we have also seen their limitations. People have realized their limitations, and a new model of development is required for the whole world, and that is where this idea of the collective energy for collective development has become very important. Third element in the India model is the IA. IA stands for International Aspirations. Every nation must have an international aspiration. So similarly, India must have an international aspiration. What is the meaning of international aspiration? That means you must have at least some international presence. You must have at least some say at the global level. And you must develop close linkages with everybody around you and develop a harmonious relationship with everybody around us. So earlier in 1947, we had this concept of what we call the non-alignment ideology. But I think now we have moved away from that, because the time has changed, a new idea of India is required, and that is the reason for shift from non-alignment to new alignments. Every nation today needs new alignments because the realities have changed today. So you need to seek the new alignments and new harmonious relationships with the world around us. So these are the three key ideas of the India model, the Indian nationalism, to be connected with the idea of the development and to be connected with the idea of the international aspirations. So I thought today I will share this India model with you because, as I mentioned earlier, in the 21st century, you need a new vision and you need a new perspective and you need a new approach, and that new approach, which is based on our earlier historical experiences, and yet it transcends the earlier historical experiences. It gains the knowledge from the earlier experiences and articulates a new kind of an approach, a new vision. So that's the essence of the India model. And connected with the same idea is a slight modification of this. In India, IN can also stand for innovation. So innovation, particularly for management students, that becomes very important. So innovation linked with development and linked with international aspiration. So that is the model of leadership for you at an individual level. You have to be innovative. That is why at IBA we have this concept of the creative, enlightened and organic leader, which basically is the essence of an innovative leadership. And then of course we have to move further and further and move forward and move forward. That should be the essence of our thinking. So I will conclude with my song, which you can also repeat with me. Kadam kadam tu aage chal. Kadam kadam tu aage chal, tu chalta chal, tu chalta chal. कर मन में विश्वास अटल, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। एक नई राह तो बन, हो सफल छूले गगन, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। हर बाधा को पार तू कर, सितारों से तू आगे चल, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। प्रदेश का नूर तू बन, देश का कोहिनूर तू बन, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। दुनिया का सरताज तू बन, शकल विश्व का नाथ तू बन, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। जो चाहेगा वो पाएगा, पक्का कर ले अपना मन, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। कदम कदम तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल, तू चलता चल। जय हिंद, जय भारत, जय इंडिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।